Welcome everyone to the Montessori Family Alliance Tuesday webinar. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you so much for coming and joining in. And our topic for today is what to say instead of be careful. You know, so many of us, when our children go out to play or when they are playing and we're watching them and they're gonna go try to climb a tree or whatever they're doing, we say, be careful, oh, be careful. All the time we're saying be careful. Sometimes we don't even know we're saying it. And I'm just want to explore that for today's session and see if we can figure out some other things to say to our children besides be careful. So here we go. Maybe. How often do we say to our children, be careful? If you're not aware of it, make it come to your consciousness so that you become aware of how many times you say, be careful. When they're coming down the stairs, when they're in the kitchen and they're helping you with food preparation, when they go out to play. There's all kinds of times during the day that we often say, be careful. And I want us to think about today, what message are we giving our children? You know, what are they thinking every time we say be careful? Are they thinking, I must be clumsy or I must be careless? Is the message to them empowering, that they know how to do things, that they can take care of themselves? Is it frightening? Is it like, oh, be careful, I wonder what I need to be careful of? You know, is everything scary? Is everything going to cause me harm? And so I want us to take a look at maybe some ideas of how we can help our children to be careful without saying those words. So let's go on and see if we can. Oh, I wanted to show you some photos of some sort of maybe everyday things that children do. If you look at the picture on the left-hand side of the screen, notice this looks like it's a fairly small child. I almost get the impression that it might even be a toddler, which for me, I gotta tell you, I'd be a little scared there too. But this little person is exploring, and in the water doesn't look like it's very high rapids, and it doesn't look like it's very deep. Even so, and obviously there's someone taking a photo, so there is someone else there in case this child needs some help. But this is one of the places where we might say to our child, be careful, don't fall in the water, watch your step. The picture on the top with looks like a young woman on a horse may not be an everyday occurrence for you and your children, but it is for some parents and some children. And here's another situation where even though this person is probably taking lessons, probably has some experience with horses, we still might blurt out those words, be careful. And maybe we need to, and maybe we don't. There's a young boy, I would say, down below the horse that's on these sort of graduated tree trunk things, that are often on playgrounds. And, he's trying out his balance and he's working with his feet. You can see his arms are out. That's the balance part. And, he's there. He's trying to do this. This is a whole wonderful physical exercise. And look, there's sand on the ground. And sand is not one of those kinds of materials that really hurts really badly when you fall into it. I mean, you certainly could get hurt, but it's not gonna, as they say, it's not gonna kill you, hopefully. So he's actually really in a pretty safe place, doing a pretty safe thing. And do we need to say, be careful to him? Or do we need to allow him to try it out without those words? Or maybe there's some other words that we could say if we're nervous or anxious. And then the other photo that I wanted to share with you is the little child. It's probably a toddler as well. It looks like an indoor playscape, and the child is climbing up the stairs, and there seems to be a little hump at the top. And for some, they would want to say, be careful. And again, let's think about, is it really necessary to say to a toddler when they're playing on a piece of equipment that is designed for them to experiment with their body, try to figure things out as to how their bodies work? Is it important for us to say, be careful? Or again, are there some other words that we can use that will give our children maybe a little bit of a different message? Well, I was lucky because I found this wonderful thing on backwoodsmama.com. And I love that website because it's all about children in the outdoors, and I love that too. But Backwoods Mama has some great ideas. She says that we want to encourage and support our children to become more aware, to increase their awareness, and to become great problem solvers. And so instead of saying, be careful all the time, if we can say some things that will help increase our children's awareness and or help them to problem solve, to think about what they're doing, what's their plan, then maybe those are better comments than just that other old one. I also wanted to add a couple of other things. Besides awareness and problem solving, I think sometimes it's just good to let your children know they should have fun. So enjoyment, they should enjoy themselves. Have fun with your friends. Take some pictures and show them to me when you get back, whatever it happens to be. And of course, some of this depends on the age of the child and of course the situation that they're going into. And the other one that I like to add is, I think maybe sometimes we should say things that maybe will encourage confidence rather than maybe having them feel like there's a lot of threatening things out there. So confidence, we could say, I know you can do it, or you've got this. That's one of those new phrases that I actually really like. So those are a couple of other things that we can say, but let's explore creating and increasing a child's awareness in situations that they're going into. So here are a couple of photos also that I really liked. And here's that little person again that is on those stones. And it looks like a little brook or a stream. It almost looks like somebody actually put those stones there. They're almost boulders, flat-topped stones. It almost looks like it's like a stepping stones, like a pathway. But if we want this child to increase his or her awareness about this situation, what are the kinds of things we could say? Up in the top, you see several children, and they're near a campfire or some type of a fire. I'm going to assume it's a campfire. And they have their hands out. And increasing awareness may be, can you feel the heat from that fire? What does that tell you about the fire? You know, so increasing their awareness about their bodies and their sensitivities and things that they can know from paying attention. And then the boy down on the bottom, we want to help them increase their awareness of their feelings. You know, how do you feel? Do you feel excited? Let's go on to this next slide and we'll go through that one. But that little boy doesn't look excited to me. He looks a little fearful. Okay, creating awareness. So here are some things that you can say instead of be careful. Now remember that, what's her name? Somebody mama, Backwoods Mama. She is always talking about being outside and being in nature. So to add some new phrases in different types of situations. But remember, she's giving us language for more or less outdoor activities. So creating awareness. You could say something like, notice how these rocks are slippery, like the little child that's crossing the brook there. Or notice how that branch is strong. Or I might say, that branch looks really strong. What do you think? So bringing their attention and their awareness to different things in their environment that uh, they may be experimenting with, trying things out with, is an important way to say things instead of just be careful on those rocks. Oh, you need to use, and that's another one we do all the time. We tell them what they should be doing instead of allowing them to think about it and become aware of it. Which branch do you think would be a strong one? You can ask them questions instead of giving them answers. And then, did you see that poison ivy? Do you see your friends nearby? This is an important one for children, especially as they begin to get a little older and be on their own. Some young children just take off and they don't realize that they are nowhere near their mom or their dad or their friends. And so, you might want to say in certain situations to your child, do you see any of your friends nearby? Do you see your teachers nearby? Because you want that child to become aware of that, whoops, wait a minute, I'm getting kind of far away from where I need to be, where people who can help me or be with me, where I can be safe. And so, you may want to bring that to their attention at certain points in different types of activities. Another one is try using your hands to what? To help steady you. Try using your feet, your arms, your legs. Again, it's all about them trying to be aware that they have it with their bodies, the tools that they need for certain types of tasks. And certain parts of their bodies are better for certain tasks than for others, instead of maybe trying to push a log, or not a log, but a branch somewhere. Well, try using your hands. You could, pick it up. You don't want to be sarcastic, though. That almost sounded a little sarcastic. Maybe so, different things. And then again, creating awareness. Can you hear rushing water? Can you hear the singing birds? Can you hear the wind? This is a great one that we use a lot in Montessori classrooms. We do something called the silence game. And the silence game, some people think it's a way for us to make children quiet down when they're being too noisy and loud, but actually done correctly, done the way that we're trained, that's not what it's for. It's for creating awareness. And so what we do is we'll get together at group time with the children. We'll say, we're going to do the silence game now. We're going to close our eyes. We're going to listen very carefully. And everyone will be very quiet. And when we open our eyes, I'll ask what you heard. And they'll say different things like they heard the pump in the fish tank, or they might say they heard birds singing. If they're in a classroom where you can hear outdoor sounds, or the windows are open and they can hear birds outside, they might say they could hear somebody walking, or they might say they could hear somebody moving their body. So we do a lot of this in school just to make them more sensitive and aware of listening for things, because sometimes that's going to be very important in terms of like even when we're crossing a street, don't we as parents sometimes say, look and listen? You want them listening for the car, you want them listening for different kinds of things that they may come in contact with when they're out and about. Another one is, do you feel stable on that rock? Do you feel steady? Do you feel like you can balance on that rock? Do you feel the heat from the fire? Do you feel the heat from the register? I don't know if they still have registers in classrooms anymore. Most of the heat and so forth is done in a really different way. But it used to be that we would have these heaters in our rooms of our houses and in schoolrooms. Then those heaters would get hot. And so we want, instead of saying, be careful of the heater, you might want to say, do you feel the heat from that heater? How close do you think you should be? But the first part, when we create awareness rather than problem solving, is, do you feel it? Are you aware of it? Are you even paying any attention to it? You see how close your glass is to the edge of the table? Oh, no, I didn't see that. Instead of be careful, and we do say that, don't we? If somebody has their glass, here's my water bottle, too close to the edge of the table, sometimes, or they put it on, mine right now is on part of my desk and part of my calendar, and if I let it go, it's very unstable. And I might say, oh, be careful with your water bottle, instead of saying, and obviously if it's going to fall off any second, you might have a different response. But if it's close to the edge and it's not going to fall off immediately, you might say, did you notice how close that glass is to the edge of the table? Instead of be careful of your glass. Sometimes when we say be careful of something, we actually make the thing happen that we didn't want to have happen, right? Because we're anxious, and so we startle the child, and then things happen. How are you feeling? Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling excited? Are you tired? Are you feeling safe? So asking them about their feelings in certain situations that we might say, be careful, not say be careful, but how are you feeling when you're on that rock? How are you feeling when there's so many toys and people around? So that they become aware of their own feelings and they can make choices and decisions based on how they're feeling. So this is the next part that Backwoods Mama says. She likes to encourage problem solving and support problem solving, and we do too in Montessori. We want children to be thinkers. Look at these two boys. Boy, they are thinking. So what's the plan? Get them started, get them thinking, get them problem solving. What's your plan if you climb that boulder? What's your plan if you cross that log? What's your plan if you go to the top of the slide? What can you use to get across? Now remember, she's talking about outdoor sort of activities, go across a brook. What could you use to get across? Maybe you could use like a walking stick. You don't have to add those things. You can ask the child and see what they think of. What can you use for your adventure? What will you need for your adventure? My grandson just went out hiking with his parents on Sunday, and he's 3.5, maybe a little more than that. And so they were out for a family hike, and he took along with him his hiking bag. And in his hiking bag, he has binoculars, and he has, he has a notepad. He just has all different kinds of things in there that he should take on a hike. And so, you could ask, what do you think we ought to bring for our hiking trip? Or, what do you think we should bring when we go outside to do some gardening? So those are the kinds of things to help them problem solve. Also, where will you put that rock? Where will you climb that tree? Where will you dig that hole? How will you get down? If they climb up, how will you get down? Instead of, they're at the top of the playscape and you're watching them and you're thinking, oh my gosh. Instead of saying, be careful, say, I wonder how you'll get down. I wonder how you'll go up. I wonder how you'll get across. So that helps them to think things through. And then who will be with you on your adventure? Who will be with you at the playground? Who will be with you when you start to cut up the carrots for dinner? Who will go for help if you need it? Who will help you if you need it? So again, remember, those are geared for outdoor adventures, but we can make those into other kinds of adventures in our homes and in our families. So be careful is such a broad thing to say. Be careful. Be careful of what? Doesn't tell me anything, does it? Be careful of myself. Be careful of other people. Be careful of an animal. I don't know. Be careful of what? The other thing, be careful if we say it so many times. Do I have to be careful of everything? You know, do I have to live in a little bubble? Is everything dangerous? Be careful implies that there's some kind of danger, which, yeah, sometimes there is. But do I have to be careful of everything? And then it doesn't really tell me how to. So you're telling me to be careful, but I'm not sure how to be careful in the situation that I'm in or that I'm going into. And I think that some of Backwoods Mama's things are giving them tools so that they can be careful. And I think we as parents need to give our children tools so that they can be careful. You know, it's sort of like when parents or teachers or grown-ups in general say to little children, relax, calm down. Children don't know what it means to relax or how to calm down when they're very little. It's a skill that they can learn and people can help them learn and teach them. Being careful about ourselves and our situations and our surroundings are skills that we can learn, you know, by watching, by experimenting, by having people ask us questions. So there's lots of ways that we can learn how to be careful. But if we just say to our children all the time, be careful, we're not giving them tools to do what we actually want them to do. So, and why? Why do I need to be careful? What's out there that is causing you to tell me to be careful? So let's take a look at these pictures. Here's a little girl on a rope swing that she could certainly get hurt maybe if she doesn't hold on tight. There's a little person on some logs. There's a young man we looked at before on those graduated tree trunks. Oh, and here's a dad running behind his daughter who is on her bicycle, and she's got training wheels though, you know, I think she's okay. In fact, she's looking backwards at her dad probably because he's saying, be careful. So we really need to not distract our children from what they're actually needing to focus on. And in this case, she needs to be looking straight ahead at the road in front of her or the sidewalk. Hope she doesn't run into anybody. And then we have a picture of 3 children and a wagon. And, you know, sometimes we might say to these 3 children, be careful, don't turn too fast, don't pull too hard, you know, somebody's going to get hurt. That's another be careful one. And so, you know, we want to help them think about things without always saying be careful. So I want to thank you for joining me today.